ScourgeBringer comes from the development team behind NeuroVoider, which itself came out on the Switch back in 2017. This new game is a 2D roguelite platformer with a heavy emphasis on fast-paced combat, but is it a joy to play or a scourge on gaming? I'm Glen Bolger, thank you to the publishing team for the review code, and now let's find out. After an invasion from another planet lays waste to most of the Earth, the surviving humans are forced to live in the burnt out remains of the once highly populated cities. Under constant threat from the alien ship, known by the humans as the ScourgeBringer, humanity has found a gateway to another dimension on the side of the ship and has been sending its best researchers to see if they can find a way to defeat the enemy. No one has ever returned, and it's now the turn of Kyra, Earth's best warrior, to step through and look to end this invasion. After a short tutorial, you are dropped into the first level. The basic aim is to beat the level's boss in order to move on to the next one. To do this, you will need to explore a number of single screens, each of which will lock as soon as you walk in, and you will need to defeat a couple of waves of enemies before you can move on. You have a map to assist you as you explore each level looking for that boss room, but there is more than just that to find along the way. First off, even if you find the boss room, it will be locked until you find and defeat the level's mini-boss, and only when you've defeated that will the main boss room unlock. To defeat the many enemies that you will encounter along the way, you have a number of moves at your disposal. Your most basic attack is a sword slash performed by pressing Y. As well as this, you have a slower smash move by pressing X. This move is important as if you hit an enemy when it displays an exclamation mark, you will stun them. It also knocks enemies back and will allow you to cut through any projectiles fired at you, potentially avoiding damage if done correctly. Using these close combat moves will fill your energy meter enough to power your other weapon, which is a gun, and once this is full you will be able to fire this by pressing ZR. Finally, your starting roster of moves includes a dash performed by pressing R, and by using these moves in conjunction with each other you can fly across the screen, barely touching the floor at times as you take out enemies consecutively, and this speed of movement and fluidity in combat is a major part of the game. If you do manage to beat the boss, you will move on to the next level, but should you die, the roguelite nature of proceedings means that you will be starting all over again. Now the game is incredibly hard and you will die often. In my first 20 runs I got past level 1 just 3 times, and I saw that first level a lot. The levels are procedurally generated each time, but they always include certain landmarks and rooms. Some of these will be very useful to you as you attempt to make any considerable progress. First off, one of the rooms within each level includes a blood altar. Finding this and standing on the altar will give you a choice of a few different perks that you will then keep for the rest of that run. They could increase the percentage of your sword or gun damage, double the amount of blood you have, and we'll talk more about blood in a moment, or completely refill your health meter, to name just a few. So I mentioned blood just now, and this is earned every time you defeat an enemy. The game tells you that blood is power, and there will be at least one shop selling perks or new weapons that you can purchase with any of the blood that you have accumulated. As well as these blood shops, there are also shops where you can buy items in exchange for the heart containers you have in your health meter, bringing another sense of risk and reward. Finally, there are challenge rooms where you will be tasked in beating a number of waves of enemies in exchange for huge rewards if successful. These are optional and they're also unbelievably difficult, with 5 or 6 waves of enemies needing to be cleared for you to get said rewards. The biggest asset you will have though are the Judge Blood tokens. These yellow eyeballs are earned by defeating the mini or main bosses on a run, and can also be found elsewhere, such as being one of the offerings from the blood altar if you are lucky enough. Once you have a few of these, you can put them into your skill tree, which is found in your hub area named the chiming tree. You are sent back here every time you die, and these skills are permanent across all runs. You will be able to increase your maximum HP, learn new moves such as the ability to hit enemy projectiles back at that enemy, learn a new move called Fury which will deal major damage, or gain the ability to fill a combo meter and earn more blood for consecutive kills. Grabbing these skills is where you will start making progress in the game. I knew that as long as I found and killed the mini-boss in level 1, something I had become quite good at doing, I would earn at least 1 token if I died, could potentially upskill myself and then have a better run, hopefully, next time. Some of the skills are locked behind beating the 5th judge, the names given to the bosses, something I haven't even managed to do yet, as the furthest I've got is level 4 so far, so there is even more scope available it seems. Whilst the buffs and perks found in each run, as well as the permanent abilities you unlock, will most certainly help you, it doesn't feel as powerful as in some roguelikes. I never felt the odds were completely stacked against me because of the perks on offer, but nor did I feel completely overpowered due to a good run of perks. I felt as if they were assisting me in staying alive a bit longer, powering up my weapons, or filling my health back up, but it was still down to my skill in combat and my ability to use the combos effectively if I really wanted to do well. The difficulty can become frustrating, especially if a good run is followed by a number where you just can't get back off level 1, although you will start to learn the boss patterns in time, and as well as this there are actually a number of accessibility options in the settings menu, something I didn't realise until a good few hours in. From here you can do things such as slow down the enemy bullets, increase the drop rate of health items, or even make yourself completely invulnerable. I ended up using the health drop rate increase as I felt the rate in its natural state was a bit stingy, to be honest, stacking things against you a little too much at times. Whilst gameplay doesn't add a huge amount to the tried and tested roguelite formula, plus its difficulty and the resulting repetition will no doubt put some people off, it's incredibly polished and executes the aforementioned formula very well. Plus that combat is just so slick and fluid, it's great when it's in motion. Gameplay scores 17 out of 20. Controls are so responsive and tight it really does aid that slick and fluid combat, making the experience even more enjoyable, and they score the full 20 out of 20. In terms of the visuals, ScourgeBringer opts for a pixel art style with quite a striking colour palette mix of neon pinks and greens, along with the stark black which is used to accentuate background landmarks and features. Each room within a particular level does have a similar look, although the levels themselves are different to each other, which is nice to see. The fact that you will potentially see some levels quite often does mean that fatigue starts to set in when seeing those same backgrounds, although this does make it all the better when you do move on. Enemy designs also change from level to level, or at least new enemies are introduced as you move on, and whilst they do look different enough to freshen things up, there were quite a few that I felt weren't particularly creative. Bosses do fare better, and I liked the design of these, with them being completely different to any of the standard enemies. Performance wise, everything ran very smoothly indeed, and I didn't experience any slowdown throughout my time with the game. I did however have an issue with an error occurring after putting the game into sleep mode, wanting to pick up a run and finish it later, and that was actually the run where I was on level 4, so it was really annoying to lose that progress. Audio wise, the game's score was provided by Eunice or Junus Turner, apologies if I've got that wrong, whose other credits include soundtracks for games such as Downwell and Broforce. The metal theme suits the frenetic style of the gameplay perfectly, and it really is one of the highlights of the entire package. Visuals use colour effectively, and whilst everything looks pleasant as a whole, some of the designs are a little underwhelming and they score 15 out of 20. Audio on the other hand is right up there with the controls as the standout of the package, and it scores 18 out of 20. ScourgeBringer costs £15.29, $16 or €16.99 or 25 Australian dollars 50. It will take up 389 megabytes of your system storage. Putting a number on such games in terms of hours of play is always difficult. Some people may be stuck on level 1 for hours, others may begin to get the hang of it and go through it much quicker, whereas some people will potentially become frustrated by a lack of progress and give up without ever seeing most of what the game has to offer. The accessibility options do help with this, with the health drop rate increase being very welcome for me, and whilst invulnerability mode seems maybe a bit like overkill, it's there if you want it. It does have a lot of competition on the Switch in terms of roguelites, but it's certainly up there with the best, maybe even surpassing the competition in some ways, especially with that fast-natured combat. There is a demo available, and I would encourage people to try this first, but on balance, value gets 15 out of 20. To conclude, ScourgeBringer is an action-packed roguelite which uses the tropes of the genre to very good effect and manages to ramp things up further with a great selection of attacks and very responsive controls. The high level of difficulty will put some people off, so this is something that you need to consider, but mastering the combat system is a big part of the fun. If you live for roguelikes, this really needs to be part of your collection. ScourgeBringer gets a SwitchUp score of 85%. Thank you everybody for watching this review, I hope you enjoyed it. Please do remember to leave a like if you did. A quick thank you to our Patreons as always for your continued support, and to each and every one of you for watching our videos. Take care, stay safe of course, and until next time, happy gaming.